Welcome to Rustic and Shine Resin Designs workshop. Today is the start of a three-part series. I'm going to be pouring a beach ocean scene, and this is going to be poured over three very large window panes. Okay, here we are getting all of the resin poured into my containers for mixing. I'm doing three separate colors for the water. These pieces that I am working on, this is the largest project I have completed once it's done. These window panes, the three of them, each one is 28 by 16, so they're very large pieces. I've prepped them by painting them. I've painted a white base on them, and then I've also used a textured spray paint to do the sand, and I've attached some shells, rocks, and starfish on there to be part of the beach scene. So back to the mixing here. Mixing with resin is incredibly important, and timing is also critical. So working very quickly, being organized, all really important things with resin when you're working with it. Because I'm mixing so much, it's a little bit more of a challenge for me. Mixing, I've got the three colors there. I also have one small container of clear, and I also have my white, which is going to be the wave portion. So what I do with these is, you'll see I'm adding the powder tinting agent and mixing as quickly as I can, and then checking on my coloring. I let the resin flow down the side of the container to see if I'm happy with the colors. What these colors are going to do is they're going to represent the change in the water color for the depth of the water. So mixing enough resin to do all three of my window panes at one time, because it's really important to have the colors be very consistent across the three panes, so it looks like it is just one continuous water scene. I don't want to have any differences in coloring between any of the panes, because they will be put into a frame and it needs to be very consistent and look like they basically are all one piece. So going back, adding a little more coloring agent to each of them to get them to where I can have them thick enough with color that they will cover the white that has been painted as the base on each of the window panes. And now I'm just taking a little bit of the clear, putting it into my container for doing the mixture of my white, which will be the white foamy portion of beach, and a little bit of foam throughout the water as well. So again, just going back, kind of reassessing each one, stirring and double checking my coloring, making sure I'm happy with what I see as far as what the transition is going to be between the colors, that the color is strong enough but not too dark, so that it looks very natural. So I've just about got it mixed up here for all of them. This is the last one, the teal color, which will be the color that is closest to the beach. The other two will be further up on the window panes, representing getting into deeper water. So now, again, I have about 20-25 minutes maximum working with this resin to get it on my window panes, have it where I want it to be, so it's mixed, so there's no hard lines in the coloring, and also getting my waves on. So I've got a lot of work to do in a very short time and on a very large scale. So I'm just starting with the deepest water first, putting on my colors. I'm trying to get it even as to how much I'm putting on each one to have it consistent. It's not an exact science by any means, because this is meant to be water, which always has its own little quirks as far as the bottom goes and what the coloring does. Again, just dividing it up, pouring it right onto the painted window, and as you can see, the coloring is covering the white, which is what I wanted. The white gives me a good base for starting with, so that it is a lighter background for the water, which helps to kind of reflect some of the blue back once it sets. Instead of having a dark base, that would make the blue much darker looking, which, you know, might be kind of cool to do, but for this particular one I wanted to keep this very light and more ocean, beach, tropical kind of scene. Now I'm going to be adding the teal, which is the color that goes closest to the beach, because to me teal is the real tropical kind of color that everybody kind of likes when they go to a beach, where you just get those nice colors that you just can't get most places. So again, dividing it up between the three window panes here. Now I need to start spreading it around. This is something that has to be done, I like to do with my fingers, mixing the colors so that I don't have a hard line. Just incorporating it down the window pane, making sure it's out to the edges, and mixing and spreading it out, bringing that the teal down to where I've got the painted beach sand. That's kind of the edge where I want my resin to stop for the watercolors. And again, you'll see moving the resin around, swirling it, and getting the colors mixed so that it looks natural, so you don't see a hard lines where the color changes. It just flows and looks like it would naturally. I mean, it doesn't look all that good right yet, but once the resin starts to settle and it keeps moving and it smooths out, then it gives you that nice coloring where the colors are mixed and the flow looks much cleaner and smooth. So again, I'm just trying to do this quickly. I really like to use my fingers to move the product, to swirl the product together, to mix the three colors so that there isn't, again, that transition is smooth and it looks natural. So moving very quickly. Again, keeping in mind these are very, very large pieces and my time is ticking, so I can't dilly-dally. I need to be very consistent and keep moving, get the product spread around, because I still need to add the wave portion. So here I'm just doing the last one, getting it smoothed out and trying to kind of keep it consistent again across the three pieces where we've got the water changing color from the teal to a lighter blue and then to the darker blue. I like to use, typically the agents I'm using are all powder for the watercolors. The white that I use is a gel. That's my personal preference. I've found for myself these work the best for me. They may not be the best for everybody, but they're ones that I've gotten very good results with, and I'm happy with what the finished product is. So just finishing up here, mixing the colors, making sure there's no hard lines and that everything is covered. And I'm not too concerned about the edges of these as far as covering the outer edges of the glass, because this will be going into a frame, so the edges will be covered. I want the product to be out to the edge, but it doesn't have to be super super coverage as far as the very edge of the glass goes. Now I'm just getting the clear, and I'm going to do a line of clear right on the edge of the beach against the blue, because what I'm wanting to have here is to have the water washing up on the sand, and when it's washing up on the sand it becomes almost transparent, and then it goes into the blue with the water where it starts to get a little bit deeper. So I'm just trying to spread this out between the three pieces so we have some consistency as far as how much on each piece and how far the wave is going to be coming up on the beach. I don't want it to be coming too far, because I've got the seashells, the starfish. I don't want the waves to be covering that, but I do want the waves to be washing up on the shore a little bit. I think seeing some of the beach there with nothing on it is really quite attractive and makes you feel like you want to just stick your toes in the sand. So here I am, just moving the product, spreading it down the board a little bit, and making sure it's up close to the blue, keeping some consistency as far as how far down I'm pulling the product without trying to get it too thin, because we do need the product there to be able to add the white and spread it with the heat gun. Now I'll be putting on the white will be the next thing. First I'm just going to try with the heat gun just over the top of everything, taking out some bubbles that may be there. Just that also helps to have the resin smooth out, taking out bubbles, smoothing the product, and that creates a little bit more flow with the heat that moves the product, and so it gets the mixture to be a nicer look to it, not so rigid with the finger marks in it that I've done. Okay, so going back to the wave portion here. So now I'm adding the white, and this is going to be showing where the wave is washing up onto the beach. And again, I'm keeping a very close eye on my time, because my time is starting to tick away, and if I don't get this on quick enough, the resin in the container there, the white will be too thick, and I won't be able to spread it on the board like I'm doing right now, and it won't blow with the heat gun to make the bubbles I need to make. So keeping close eye on the time, really important when you're working with resin. A couple other things really important is to be in a room where there is no wind, where there's no cold coming in. It needs to be a very consistent temperature. Resin does not like cool temperatures. When you're working with it, it won't mix properly. So having temperatures, 70 degrees or warmer, which for me is awesome, because I'm not a cold person. I love the heat, so this works great for me. But it's critical for your resin. If your resin is too cold, you will not get it to work the way you want. Now I'm just running some white across the water. These are just going to give a few little waves out further in the water, like you would typically see when you're at a beach. The waves come rolling in, whether they're small waves or big waves, they come crashing in at some beaches. So now I'm just taking and using the heat gun again to work the product, to get it to spread a bit, to start getting a little bit of the wave action happening with the foam happening. This beach is a beach that is a calmer beach, so I'm not going to have a lot of big foamy waves. These are softer waves, and you'll see here when I'm doing down on the beach here, it's not a heavy white wave, it's quite delicate. So this is a beach that would be a nice calm beach for swimming, with just a soft, very soft wave coming in on the beach. I'll use the heat gun to push the product out and into the blue water portion. You'll see there's a little bit of foam starting, but there will be more once I go back over it. I will be using my little torch, and that also helps with releasing any of the bubbles in the blue portion, but also helps to create the foamy wave look on the white portion. So going back across my board, trying to keep the flow consistent with the waves across the three boards, because again, these will be put into a frame once completed, and they need to look like they all belong together as one piece. So coming back and going down on the beach portion, blowing some of the product back into the blue portion. Again, this is not a big heavy wave, this is very light, so I'm not trying to push the product too far. It's just going barely into the blue, just to keep it nice and soft. And you'll see I'm not putting any resin onto the rest of the beach portion or onto the shells. That's going to be the next step that I will be doing on the next portion of this series. So right now, just trying to finish up, get my waves completed before my resin gets setting up too much. You can maybe tell a little bit the resin is starting to thicken a little bit. It's not moving as well as it was when I first started. It's getting thicker, so trying to finish it up, get it done, doing the final wave on the last window pane, and just pushing the product again, very gently, getting that nice soft wave. And we're just about done the waves. And I'll come back across all of these pieces and we'll check with my torch, going over them to finish the wave action. I've decided I needed to add a little bit more of a wave across each of them, so I need to do that while I still can, because as I said, once the resin gets to a certain point, I can do no more. It's starting to get a little bit thicker. It's not flowing off of the stick onto the frame, the picture frame there very well. So getting my heat gun, get this last little wave blown out. And you can see the resin is thickening. So working quickly, getting the rest of that one completed. And going back across the other two boards, finishing that up. The heat gun does help to heat the resin as well, which helps to move the product a bit. You need to be super careful though not to linger with your heat gun, because resin is very flammable and you certainly don't want to start any fires. So moving the heat gun steadily, like no lingering, keep it going, and you should be fine with the way it goes. And you'll see I'm just trying to get this done, finish it up. Again, these are very, very large pieces I'm pouring, and trying to get each piece completed before my resin sets is critical. And being organized, having it thought out, how I wanted to have the water, how many colors I was going to use, how I was going to do the beach. All of those things needed to be thought out well in advance, because once you start mixing, you are committed. You need to keep moving and not stop until you have finished doing everything you need to do within the 20 to 25 minutes. And now I'm just taking out any bubbles over the whole thing. This first layer it's a really important layer, because this is setting the scene for the whole finished product. This is giving the base of color to the water, which is really what you're looking for, is what colors are you going to have at the end of this. Because once I do the second wave, it's going to be just a very light coloring agent. So the base colors are what the whole picture is going to be about. So I'm finishing up here, just going over, making sure I've gotten out all the little tiny bubbles and all of the resin, that I've gone over all of the portions where I've got my white and want the foam to be happening. Again, this is not a crashing wave kind of beach. It's very soft, so we're not going to have a lot of big foam happening. And same with the heat gun, the torch, you need to keep moving. It's even something you need to move quicker with than the heat gun. Now I always like to go back and I like to look over my pieces to make sure if there's anything I see in my resin, now is the time that I can remove it. If there are any little pieces of lint, or if there's a small hair, anything like that that is sitting in the resin, you want to take it out, because it typically will create a flaw, and we definitely don't want any flaws. So again, that's part of the reason you want your room to be very calm. Okay, so that's the end of our first pour. We'll be doing the second pour next. Thanks for joining me on this one, and I hope you join me on the next one. If you want to learn more about what I do with resin, you can always catch me on my Facebook page, Rustic and Shine Resin Designs.